All right, so welcome everybody to our UFO ET Experiencers group. And today we have our speaker Q&A group. My name is Catherine Chapey, and I am so happy that you are all here with us tonight. And it's great to see all of you. And we have a wonderful speaker tonight, and his name is David Suich. And I've known David for a couple years now, and he's an awesome guy. He's an NDE researcher, an STE researcher, and an experiencer also. And he has other experiences too with ETs, and he's going to share some of that with us tonight, I think. I hope. Uh, all right. And he's written two wonderful books. Um, God Took My Clothes and The New World of Love. Beautiful, beautiful title. All right. And those can both be found on Amazon. All right. So, David, welcome. So happy you're here with us.
Well, thank you, Catherine. It's a pleasure to be back with you, and I love your group. It's one of the few places I feel comfortable talking about my Pleiadian origin. Now, Catherine mentioned two books that I have. Today is not about self-promotion or profit, so she has copies of those, electronic copies, and anybody who wants one can ask, and those are free. So the first one's just a summary about near-death experiences and what they say. God Took My Clothes. The second has a chapter named First Contact. And it talks about the next 150 years and humanity becoming an ascended species, which is kind of where we are right now. We're on that path. So, Catherine, how long do I have to talk today, first of all?
I would say about 50 minutes, 50. So
Oh,
you have till about the top of the hour.
okay, till about 7. All right,
Yeah.
why don't you give me a 10-minute warning when we get close? If you could do that for me, that'd be helpful.
Okay.
Okay, so what I was considering going over, and depending on what the group wants to hear, we can talk about a great variety of things, but I was thinking we could go over a brief history of the universe of this galaxy, and then a brief history of Earth, and kind of sort of ET involvement history with Earth, and then talk about some of the things that are going on and how first contact is going to occur, and sort of what our involvement's going to be in the next 150 years and eventually becoming a productive member of the galactic community and joining the Galactic Federation of Worlds. Is there anything specific or any certain topics that people want to focus on or they'd like to hear about other than the ones I mentioned?
Yeah, if anybody wants to put something in the chat for David, that would be great. And then this way we can, you can hit the different things that you were going to. And then after that, maybe you can touch on some of those subjects too.
Okay, we'll check the chat and then we'll see what people want to hear about, or maybe they'll get an idea when I'm talking to hear more about it. So, um, there are some things I have no doubt about from my near-death experience research. Now, I have also listened to trusted channelers. I began channeling myself as an information channeler. And of course, some of the information I have comes from a vague remembrance of past lifetimes. So it took me 10 years to believe, finally, that I am Pleiadian. The first word I ever spoke was Bata. And I don't remember this. My parents told me, and I would say it over and over again, and they'd say, David, what does that mean? And I would just repeat the word Bata. Well, that faded into a forgotten childhood, and I started speaking normally. And here it was 4 decades later, and I'm studying near-death experiences, and I hear about this benevolent group of beings called the Pleiadians. And so I watched a few documentaries about it. And in one of the documentaries, that was about Billy Meyer, who was a Swiss man who had contact reportedly with the Pleiadians back in the late 60s and early 70s. The narrator of this documentary says, now, Billy was brought aboard one of the Pleiadian motherships where he met a Pleiadian teacher named Bata. That's Bata. Now, he repeated the word twice. It's the only word repeated in the whole documentary. I nearly fell off my chair. So I called my dad. I stopped watching the documentary. I called my dad. He goes, was this the word? I said, yes, that's the word. And then I was remembering a near-death experience interview I had with a guy who died in a dentist chair from taking Vicodin, and then they put him under, and it killed him, but they had defibrillators there. And he tells me, you're not really an engineer, you're a teacher. Now that made sense to me because both my parents were teachers, and the favorite part of my job was teaching the new employees. And when I was young, The other kids used to call me the professor because I was always trying to explain things to people. So I'm thinking about all this and I'm going, okay, this is just a wild coincidence. I'm not somebody named Bata from a different planet in a different civilization. And I'm remembering I had this odd fascination with this star system ever since I was a child. I didn't know the name of it. I never looked it up. I just called it the old lady in the rocking chair. And even to my adulthood, I would always look for that star system in the night sky whenever I was out in the desert or out in the country and I could see all the stars. And I'd go, oh, there's my old lady in the rocking chair. And I thought, that can't be the Pleiades. And I looked it up online, and sure enough, it was. And then I had two different psychics later when I started doing interviews and podcasts tell me, you're Pleiadian. So I finally came to believe it. And even I think about a month and a half ago, Catherine, it was in this group, right? You had a psychic on and people were asking questions. When it came to me, the first thing she said to me before I could ask my question is, you're not from here?
Yeah.
Yeah, that was here, right? Okay, that's what I thought.
That was here, yes.
Yeah, so it's been an interesting journey. And then recently I've started having communications with Bata. So Bata was on the Council of Elders it was a past lifetime from my perspective. And they don't bark orders in the Pleiades. So they don't have a pyramid structure of authority like we do, with one leader telling the managers what to do. The managers just tell the people what to do. They don't do things like that. So the word teacher and leader in Pleiadian is like the same word, because they just give the information. These are your 5 options. These are the advantages, disadvantages of each. What do you want to do? And then when they choose an option, the Council of Elders walks them through that and guides them and all that. So they have a very different structure than we do. But let's go over a history of the galaxy. So I learned early on in my NDE research that the way life typically spreads naturally throughout the galaxy and between galaxies is by asteroids. And so fertile planets are like the eggs, and the asteroids bring in microscopic life, bacterial life, that eventually, because they have the blueprint, the DNA, the seeds to life, will eventually develop into humanoid life. Now, most of the life in this galaxy is humanoid. So a head, 2 arms, 2 legs. Now there are variations. So we're a primate-based humanoid. There are feline, aquatic, avian, reptilian, insectoids. There's all sorts of variations, but most of them are kind of human and look like us with some variations. There's many different systems in the Pleiades and different races, but many of them from the Pleiades look like us. If you were to see a Pleiadian, and there are some here that are working covertly, getting ready for first contact, they would look very Nordic almost, white or blonde hair with very white skin. And that's because many of the climates they prefer are colder climates. So what happened in this galaxy? So life came here via an asteroid, landed on a fertile planet, and that planet took 3 tries to finally take hold, for life to take hold. It was so long ago and so forgotten in history that even many of the advanced species don't know anything about it, where it was, or even what its name was, or what its people was like. But life eventually spread through the galaxy. And in the Milky Way galaxy, it was within the Orion system where technology first developed, and they had some problems. So they developed some not so benevolent AI. Artificial intelligence will always reflect the consciousness of the culture that creates it, which is why some of our models have had problems. But as our consciousness rises, so will the benevolence of AI. So they had AI that wasn't very benevolent. They had some conflicts. Some of the groups were wallowing in fear and felt a need to control by force the fellow groups, and so it created some wars. And some of the more benevolent species who wanted nothing to do with war left the Orion Wars. They escaped the Orion Wars, and they settled in the Pleiades star system. Now, our scientists say the Pleiades is not old enough for life to have developed. Well, that's because it was transplanted there. So they eventually decided that we needed a group, a cooperation to help maintain peace in the galaxy, and they formed the Galactic Federation of Worlds. Now, some people maybe, when they hear that, and I cringe when I have to talk about it, when somebody asks a question, when I'm doing an interview in a podcast, because I'm talking about replicators and transporters and the prime directive, and people say, wait a minute, you're not even making up a good lie, you're just copying Star Trek. Well, it turns out that the Pleiadians and other benevolent species, when they are initiating first contact, they've been through it many times before, they know what to do and what not to do. And one of the first things they will do is influence certain people, like filmmakers. And in this case, Gene Roddenberry, the creator of Star Trek, was subtly influenced by members of a Pleiadian trance channeling group that he attended to in the 1950s. I actually read the actual meeting notes from those groups where they talk about the Galactic Federation and the Prime Directive and all that. And he reportedly met a Pleiadian here on Earth. And so he was given the idea for Star Trek because what was the consciousness back then that humanity had towards extraterrestrials? It was projecting, right? Even though 95% of the species in our galaxy are either neutral or benevolent, we projected our barbaric nature onto what extraterrestrials would be like. And so all the movies about extraterrestrials were them coming here to conquer us, steal our resources, enslave us, or eat us, or something like that. And so the Pleiadians gave this more positive view of first contact and interaction with extraterrestrials in preparation for what is happening now. So the Pleiadians were, and the Galactic Federation was largely successful, and most of the wars in the galaxy calmed down. Now, a group was dumped here of a species called the reptilians, who are somewhat malevolent. Now, anytime a group is in with that 5% of malevolent aliens who are not neutral benevolent, their technology by nature is going to be limited, because the law of spirituality, or one of the laws of nature, is that if your consciousness is limited, so will your technology be. So the 95% who are benevolent kind of keep the 5% in check. They keep them from causing too many problems. Their technology is superior. Well, now this is where it gets real crazy. And again, my near-death experience research, where I talk about common concepts like we're all immortal, we're all part of the spark of God, we're all part of God, love is the most important thing in the universe. Those things I've heard hundreds of times. I have no doubt. This history that I'm giving you of Earth and the galaxy, it is pieced together. It is not 100% accurate, that I guarantee. But it's got some accuracies and some truths in there, and I think it's not too far off from what's actually happened. But it gets really strange. So in an alternate reality that no longer exists, in what would be considered our future, the multiverse theory basically is correct that our scientists have. There are many parallel realities. Some near-death experiencers have talked about seeing these parallel realities, different versions of Earth. And so, to my shock and amazement, that's the case. And it's done that way for efficiency. So I used to play this video game called Civilization 2, and it could last a week. You start off with a shovel, and you build cities and armies and railroads, and it's a very complex game. And if you're smart, what you do is you save the game as you go along. Because if you make a big decision, like, okay, I'm going to send a ship over to that continent and develop cities over there, and then it turns out there's a hostile force there, and that decision turned out to be a disaster, you can go back to a save version of the game and shoot off in another direction. And that's kind of what this machine of potentials and parallel realities does. And there is a young man, it's got nothing to do with spirituality. He's a genius, young teenager, and he believes, and I think he's correct, that the first time they turned CERN on, it caused a tear in the fabric of space and time, and it destroyed the universe. So they had to shift to a parallel reality where that didn't happen, like a saved version almost. So what happened?
What year was that, Dave?
I don't know, but it's on the internet when CERN was first turned on. And you can find the kid online. I can't remember his name, but type in genius who said CERN destroyed the universe. You can find the story.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
remembered his face. I can see his face clearly, but yeah, I wasn't sure what year that was. So, okay.
Yeah, CERN has been in the last 20 years, I believe. It's a fairly
Yeah.
recent development. But
Yeah.
so what happened was in the first version of Earth that did, well, it wasn't the first version. I think it was version 5. What happened no, version 4, because this is our 5th try. Okay, so yeah, this is the 5th try. So it must have been in version 4. That's a guess. But what happened was we started out by integrating technology that we carry with us all the time. And then we started having wearable technology. So, like the VR glasses and the Apple Watch. And then we started integrating it into our biology. The microchip they're talking about that connects your brain to the internet. And what happens when a species decides to start integrating technology into their biology? It's a very bad decision usually, because what happens is you lose your emotions, you lose your spiritual connection, you lose your connection to the divine. That fades away because technology is very left brain, very logical. And so usually it doesn't go well when a species does that. So we got very good at what we do. And we became kind of like the Borg on Star Trek. And I think the creative types who are generally using subconscious memory of real events will put things that are real into movies and TV series. So the Borg probably represented that offshoot of humanity that no longer exists. And we partnered with a couple of other malevolent beings, probably the Anunnaki and the reptilians, and we started causing problems in the galaxy. We were becoming a real problem. And the Pleiadians don't solve problems by blowing things up. That's barbaric. They have temporal wars, if you can even call it a war. So what they do is they go back in time, and their whole philosophy is the most subtle, least intrusive influence possible to have the desired outcome. So they went back in time to what is considered our present, and they influenced a few people, and they were successful at getting our trajectory to go down a different path where we become an ascended species and we don't integrate technology. So that's kind of the history of the galaxy. Now, there was a great celebration because Earth is the only free will planet where we have the love fear duality. You have freedom on all the other planets, but you're psychically connected. So if you harm another person, you feel it. So you don't really have the free will choice that we have, because here we have the illusion of separateness. So Earth is the key to the galaxy and the raising of consciousness of this galaxy, being the only planet that has the fear-love duality. And no planet in the history of this galaxy sunk so far into darkness. Well, why do we have to sink into darkness? Because consciousness learns through contrast. That's what we're doing in this physical lives. You dip in the darkness, you spring back really further high into the light. You dip down in the darkness a little more, spring further into the light, like rocking a car out of the mud. That's how the creation process takes place. So we dipped really far into darkness. No planet dipped that far without destroying themselves. Many in the galaxy thought that what the Pleiadians were doing, they were the ones watching over us, they thought that was too risky. They thought the Pleiadians should have intervened before we dipped so far into darkness. But thanks to a lot of help from above, not just benevolent alien species, but from the other side of the veil, we avoided self-destruction. So all that was predicted in Revelation, Nostradamus, Mother Shipton, all the doom, gloom, that's where we were headed. And we avoided self-destruction with help from above, basically. So there was a big celebration, and now all eyes of the galaxy are upon Earth, because the great change that's happening on Earth right now, they have waited centuries for this, thousands of years for this to happen. So we have been in a barbaric state for most of our history. The Atlantean and Lemurian civilizations were not so barbaric, but we really slipped into darkness for tens of thousands of years. And for a long time, there was a paradigm on Earth. You joined a powerful group, and then you made yourself as strong as possible, and then you took from others by force. So right now, many people are still in that survival mindset, and we're having this great awakening. And there are lots of ETs who are helping us. We have extraterrestrial channelers who are giving us information. Probably there'll be more disclosure this year. The disclosure with UFO tapes and information and hidden files that got released here in the US and other countries in 2026. This was predicted by some of the channelers and psychics. And those same channelers and psychics who accurately predicted disclosure this year are saying that next year we're going to start seeing sightings. So the way they're going to do it, they're not going to just show up in the capital cities. That's going to cause a worldwide panic. They've done this before. I mean, that could cause world economic markets to crash. In fact, one of the alternate timelines, it was JFK. He wasn't assassinated in 1963. And during his second term, John F. Kennedy, he revealed the secret UFO files and the crash ships and all the information. And other countries did it. And it didn't go well. There was too much fear, too much of a reaction of feeling threatened. And it went really badly. And that timeline was abandoned. And we switched to an alternate one where Kennedy was killed in 63 instead of 1968. And then he never had the chance to do disclosure early. So we are ready now. Most people in the world believe that we're not alone. I mean, Stephen Hawking said, to my mathematical brain, the numbers alone make thinking about extraterrestrials perfectly reasonable. Very first of over 2,000 near-death experience testimonies I've heard, my friend Howard Storm, very first testimony, in his near-death experience, he asked the question, the very common question, are we alone? He said, no, the universe is full of life, and there are countless other dimensions, all containing universes that are also full of life. In fact, there are so many universes that our entire universe, which is beyond the scope of imagination of a human being. One guy saw it. He was shown the relative size to the super universes, and he said it looked like a little speck of dust. That's how small it was. So creation is immensely huge. And just in our galaxy alone, we have a giant family. And as we become an ascended species, it's going to take about 150 years. Around about 2070, give or take a decade, we'll get peace on Earth. And we'll get a lot of help from the extraterrestrials. Now, they're not going to come and share all their technology with us. They've done that before. Most societies, it damages them. They end up either harming themselves or destroying themselves. They will give us a 3D holographic recording of our entire history, probably going back 200,000 years. They've been here a long time. They were instrumental in seeding life on this planet. And so we'll get to see how the Great Pyramids were built, and we'll get to see the Roman Empire and watch Caesar and Alexander the Great and Cleopatra. We can see what these people actually look like. They will be able to guide us based on any information we currently have or any information we had in the past. So if there was some doctor that invented a cure to cancer 100 years ago using homeopathic medicine, and he wrote it down somewhere and that piece of paper was lost, they can give us a copy under the Prime Directive. They might be able to give us a copy of all of Tesla's works. For those of you who might recall your history, in 1943 during World War II, Tesla was working on some energy weapons. So when he died, part of the protections they had at that time, they came in and the government took away all of Tesla's work. And that has still, to my knowledge, never been shared with the public. They may be able to give us copies of all of that or point us in the right direction. Hey, there's this guy in India, this teenager in India who came up with a great solution for this problem the world has, and he's just some kid that nobody's listening to. Go talk to him. So they're going to give us a tremendous amount of support. And for those of you who are interested in reading the Prime Directives, ask Catherine for a copy of my second book, The New World of Love. One of the Pleiadian channelers gave the Prime Directives in the channel. And it's kind of interesting. They have directives. They don't have laws. So how are we doing time-wise? We're doing great time-wise. Great.
Yep.
So we have laws, and laws cause problems because a directive is, this is the general idea. It's not a hard, fast rule. Whereas laws are fast, hard rules. So if you're driving your grandchild to the emergency room to save their life because there's a medical emergency, you're not going to stop all the way at every stop sign. I mean, you're going to get them there safely, but you're going to break the rules. Well, they have directives, and they're allowed to deviate from the directive if it is for the highest good. And directives are very simple. The prime directives are 10 directives, 1 page long. And this is the document that governs interaction with other species. And so there's a great deal in higher advanced cultures, and we will eventually have this ourselves, of putting out the directives of society, and then you have faith and you trust because people of a higher consciousness are responsible enough to follow the directives. You don't need rule enforcers. There won't be a need for police eventually. The people follow it and they implement it. And this is a very efficient way of doing things, because when you have one leader barking orders, and that leader is far away from the people that his rules affect, democracy and freedom become illusions. And local control, community control, group consensus is going to be the future. And that is the way many extraterrestrial civilizations are structured. Now, some like the Anunnaki do have a hierarchy, but they're somewhat lower consciousness. And the reptilians have a hierarchy. But in the more benevolent species, there is no hierarchy. There is a collective communication, nonverbal, nonlinear, and they share information and they decide on the best course of action. They don't have the arguments that we have, because all of the decisions that we make are based on partial information, because we're not all psychically connected. So it's hard to integrate the information and perspectives of every other person. And it's based on information systems that are not as efficient as the extraterrestrials. They have information systems where you ask the AI, and the AI has just got an intellect that's 10,000 times more than our best AI. It can really analyze data and get things done quickly. And I'll just give you one little example of Pleiadian technology. So let's say there's a natural disaster on a Pleiadian planet, and it wipes out, devastates an entire forested area, hundreds of thousands of acres. And so it could naturally recover. But what the Pleiadians do is they have monitored everything before that disaster. How many pollinators there are, like every single pollinator, the path they fly, how much pollen they bring from one flower to another. I mean, everything is monitored and analyzed. And then the Pleiadians will come in and say, okay, how can we safely accelerate the recovery process of this forest? And they will put certain pollinators in the area. They will put certain seeds. They will put certain nutrients in the soil that mimic the natural ones and accelerate the recovery of that area. And they can regrow a devastated area in 1/10 of the time that it would take naturally. But they do it all mimicking nature, because the Pleiadians and other extraterrestrials have learned what we're learning now, and that is Mother Nature has millions of years of experience. And instead of trying to dominate nature or view ourselves as separate from nature, to recognize that we're part of nature, and that the plan of nature is highly intelligent and perfectly balanced. And so we have to cooperate with nature instead of destroying nature, because when we destroy nature, we destroy ourselves. We're part of it. And so really the next 150 years is going to be a fascinating time. First Contact's going to change a lot of things. And I can guarantee by the year 2030, every person on Earth is going to be aware of the existence of extraterrestrials. And those who have been working covertly, who are here now, will reveal themselves. And there's going to be some groups that are scared, and there's going to be some religious groups that say they're demons, and there's going to be mistrust, because that's the way we are. And it's going to take a while for certain sections and certain groups in society to accept that they're benevolent. But their process is really good. And if we were to tell them collectively as a culture, go away and don't come back for 100 years, they would. Because they love us. We're their children from a galactic perspective. They've been waiting a long time to be able to meet with us and interact with us and join their family. We're part of the same DNA. We have a huge galactic family. We have been encouraged covertly to become a productive member. And thanks to a lot of help from above, we pulled it off. And now we're at this exciting time. We're just a few years away from it all coming to be and finally opening our perspective, and the universe becomes a whole lot bigger. So it is a joy to be a human being incarnated on planet Earth at this time. A near-death experience I heard recently from a documentary done by Peter Alexandria. He did a documentary called What Every Soul Knows, The Joy of Remembering Who We Really Are. And he interviewed 60 people. And one of them said, I think being a human on Earth at this time is the most happening place to be in the entire galaxy. For somebody who's a partier, it's like being at Burning Man the night of the burn. It's the exciting place to be. So as tough as these lives are, as much suffering as we voluntarily decide to take on because we love our heavenly family and we want to grow the love of creation, and we've decided to be human as part of that, as difficult as all of this is, it's a really exciting time. And we're really privileged to be down here on Earth. Remember that for every 100 souls that want to come to Earth, because it's such a huge learning experience and such a jump in consciousness, there's only one body. And so I try to remember to give gratitude for the life I have here and to give gratitude for all those older souls, the people in this room that I'm talking to right now, who have been the first to wake up and are going to guide the younger generation through this great awakening and lead us towards a new world of love. All right, well, that's about all I had. Let's open it up for questions, comments, or we could talk more details about anything that I mentioned already.
Wow, this is exciting. I just love your enthusiasm and how you're it's true. I believe we all chose to be here and we wanted to be here at this time. And also, Dolores Cannon found out through her work. I don't know if you're familiar with her work,
Yes.
through the hypnosis practice with people from all over the world, that a call went out, right, to souls on different planets, and that the Earth is in trouble and they need our help.
Yes.
So many of us were called the volunteers because many of us came from, other dimensions, other planets to come at this time to help this awakening go forward. And yeah, so we knew what we were signing up for, that it was going to be, we were going to go through some tough times. But I remember what you talked about last week in my other group. And maybe you can, if you can, describe how your perception of how we're helping to to also expand the consciousness of the heavenly realms by being here, by volunteering to come here at this time and go through these struggles that we've been through. How does that directly affect the other worlds and heaven and consciousness?
Okay, so Earth being the key planet to this galaxy, when Earth got onto the path of becoming an ascended species, there was such a big celebration because just like a person grows and matures and raises their consciousness, so do communities, so do cities, countries, planets, and so do galaxies. So every galaxy has a different set of physics, and different galaxies may be doing different tests. Now, this is not something I'm sure about, but there may be a different test of energy in another galaxy. It may not be a love-fear duality. It may be a different energy. Now, this was one of the things that was really difficult for me when I first started investigating near-death experiences, because they would talk about this love and this feeling of joy and bliss that was so strong, it was completely indescribable in human words. And I remember one guy, he says, I could try all day long, and I'm going to give you an example of what you're going to hear versus what's reality. And he said, imagine I call you and I get high on some really strong weed, and I call you and I say, dude, I'm in the desert, man. I'm really high. And like, I'm looking at the ground in front of my feet, and there's this big hole. And it's an awesome hole, man. It's just really cool. And I'd be like, okay, that's nice that you're enjoying looking at the hole. Goodbye. Now I'm imagining a hole at the guy's feet and not understanding that he's standing in front of the Grand Canyon. So
Mm,
when I give all these descriptions about the love of heaven, think
mm,
about the strongest love you've ever felt, multiply it by about 1,000,000. We're still not getting it. Only the people in this room who have had near-death experiences or the out-of-body where they feel that love, they know, but the
right.
rest of us don't. So the question came up, well, what am I doing down here? Is God mad at me? I mean, did I come here to suffer? I left that place to come here? You got to be kidding me. Have I lost my ever-loving mind? And it took me years of research, and I finally found out that consciousness learns through contrast. So when you experience the opposite of that which you desire grows stronger. Now, a good example to this is what happens when, for those in this group who are married or living with somebody, what happens when that person leaves the house and goes to the store and they come back 10 minutes later? Do you run over there and throw your arms around them and, oh, I'm so happy you're back? Your dog does that, but the human doesn't. What happens if that person's gone for 6 months? It strengthens that joy, right? And so near-death experiences have been told or shown that there's this energetic oscillation that takes place. And it is dipping into a lower vibration that is like the springboard to go to a higher vibration. And they have been told that if it were not for souls leaving the comfort and joy and the perfection of our heavenly homes and coming into physical existences where we experience contrast, the love of heaven could not continue to exist and grow. If there's no challenge, there's no change.
Mm. All right.
It's
Very,
even, we know this in our life. You ever
yeah.
met somebody who's never challenged? The son or daughter of a wealthy person who never had to work? You get kind of spoiled and lazy. Not all of them, but a lot of them do.
Mm-hmm.
And the people who have been through the toughest challenges, they're the ones that are the strongest. So the challenges aren't just good for growing creation. They're good for us personally. And as the consciousness of Earth raises, because we're the key to this galaxy, the consciousness of the entire galaxy is raising. It's becoming more peaceful and benevolent. And because that consciousness is connected to the universe, the entire universe, their consciousness is raised slightly. And then the super universe, all the other universes which we're connected to, raise as well. So it's just like a fractal of growth. A
Mm-hmm.
fractal is a repeating pattern. The tree trunk grows, it splits into two. Each of those splits into two. It's a repeating pattern. And the pattern's been going on for literally an eternity. And each time we get better, higher levels of higher vibration, more intense love. That's why it's so intense. Because this process of making it better and refining it has been going on for an eternity. And so I asked one time, well, when do I get to the end, like reach the top? And they said, never. Because we are constantly creating new parts of creation and experiencing that new creation as we create it. Just like when you're dreaming, you're creating the dream effortlessly and experiencing the dream, the reality that you're creating. Much like these lives, that's what we're doing. Hard as it is to believe.
Yeah,
As above, so below.
that's right.
That happens in heaven as well.
And I've also been told that every work, all the work that we do on ourselves here while we're on the earth, it actually ripples out like what you were just saying. It actually, I envision it as like a ripple going out into all different directions, and it affects everything and everyone. So the
Oh,
healing work
yeah.
is not just on ourselves. It's going, it's healing our ancestors. It's healing, our people that are coming in the future. I mean, it just works all in all different directions. So it's really wild. All right, we have a few questions in the chat. So let's
Okay.
um so Craig wants to know, can they help us to clean up the environment?
The Pleiadians have technology where they could clean up the entire environment, every problem on planet Earth, every contaminant, soil, air, water, food, in 1 month. That's how good their technology is. They are not going to do it. Under no circumstances where will they clean up our room for us. Because
Right.
when you clean a child's room, the child doesn't learn. They will guide us. They will help us.
Right.
Okay, you see these 5 technologies here? We think that one right there is going to be the most cost effective and the most effective at cleaning the environment. We think you should pursue that one. They'll be able to do that.
Mm-hmm.
They'll be able to point to the scientists who have studied GMOs for 20 years and know how dangerous they are. They will be able to give us advice on how to proceed based on our own laws and technologies. They will not be cleaning up Earth for us or sharing their technology to do so. That is against the Prime Directive. Now, there may be some things which the Federation decides after. They're very careful at evaluating things. I mean, they overanalyze everything from, we would call it overanalyzing. They're just being prudent, but we would call it overanalyzing. So if they analyze that it would do no harm in any way, they might give us some new technologies, but that would be very limited.
Okay, thank you. And Craig also wants to know how will we have clean power source and end war?
Well, war is going to end naturally as a rising consciousness on the planet. So right now, for the first time in history, most people on Earth don't want war. If you look at newsreels of the past, go back to World War II and look at when the countries announced they were declaring war on the neighboring country. There were cheers. People would cheer. They might be in favor of the war, but there's not a whole lot of cheering going on this time. Okay, so I'm sorry, Catherine, I lost my train of thought. The original question was?
Okay, how will we have clean power
Okay, power. Okay, got it. So war is going to go away on its own because people are just getting a bad taste in their mouth for it. So that's going to happen. Now when we talk about power generation, this is my area of expertise. I spent 32 years as a power plant engineer, and I just got done with a 3-year job managing 3 power plants in Oahu. The renewable we have today is not very good. There's a lot of misinformation about it. The wind turbines kill birds. At the wind turbine farms in Palm Springs, 29 Palms, the nickname that we had for it, the people who worked in the industry, was the bird graveyard. I'm going out to the bird graveyard today because you would go out there and you'd see these big birds that were just dead, that get hit by the blades. Now, something in the song of the birds or their tonal frequencies are instrumental in activating nature in the morning. And so if the birds die, we die. And they're not easily recyclable. There's graveyards of these things where they're just rotting because the materials are composite materials that can't be easily or cheaply recycled. And then you got photovoltaic, which is okay, but it's expensive and requires a battery source. And both of those require a fossil fuel backup or a battery backup. They're not very good. And they're expensive. So what's coming next is low temperature geothermal. So right now you've got to get a very deep pocket that has a temperature high enough to boil water, 212 degrees Fahrenheit, 100 Celsius. And that's very expensive. And they're going to come up with a substrate or a liquid that boils at a much lower temperature, possibly an organic alcohol or something that boils at a lower temperature. And they're going to have low temperature geothermal where you don't have to dig really deep, and a small temperature difference will be enough. And that'll be cheap. It'll run 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. It'll be cheaper or as cheap as our fossil fuels today, as cheap as coal, which is very cheap. And then after that, we're going to develop 0-point energy. Now, according to our scientists, we're about 30 years away from that. So what 0-point energy does, and near-death experiencers who were shown the futures were shown these in their visions, little boxes about the size of a microwave that run in your house. They access a multidimensional quantum energy called 0-point energy, and they start up on a small battery, and they run for about 50 to 100 years with no breakdowns. It's almost free energy. No more power cords, no more power outages. Now, when that happens, when we develop 0-point energy, and what our scientists say, forget about what the spirituality and my research, what our scientists say is that there's enough energy in 1 cubic foot of space, there's enough ZPM energy to run the United States for a year in 1 cubic foot. So it's an almost limitless supply of energy. Well, what's going to happen to a society that has automated remote manufacturing where robots and AI are running the show? And then we have local replicators to replicate food and other small products. We have limitless energy. The struggle for the basic necessities is gone. Why would you go to war? We don't have a resource problem anymore. We don't have a scarcity problem anymore. Everybody wakes up every day and says, how do I want to make the world a better place? Well, what can I do to help heal this devastated area of nature? What group can I join to work on a project to make things better for humanity? That's what we're going to be doing every day. The grind is going away. That's a matter of time. So we're very close. We're less than 100 years away from giving up the struggle. And so, of course, war is going to go away. And the energy is going to help that. Good question.
Very exciting. Very exciting. All right. Mike Patterson would like to know, what is your understanding of Sasquatch in all of this?
Okay, so hundreds of thousands of years ago, a great race of builders came to planet Earth looking for something called monatomic gold to clean up their environment. And they sent an android ship here and they found it. So they sent a small delegation with a ship carrying some slaves. They had a slave race. And this slave race was from a much colder planet. So normal 75-degree temperature was unbearably hot. And so they were working in the mines and they rebelled. And the Anunnaki said, well, we need a race of slaves. Maybe we can mix our DNA with these primitive humans to get a slave race. Now, it's against the divine law of creation to create a new species that requires a human-like soul. You're not allowed to do that. That's only for those on the other side of the veil. Well, they tried, and they were trying to get a human being that was smart enough to do the work and take instructions, but not so smart they would develop and grow on their own. And they couldn't do it without making one that needed a human soul. So that's how modern humans were created. If primitive humans had been allowed to develop on their own, we would be all Sasquatch. That's who we would be. And we'd eventually develop into us. It would just take a lot longer. So the Anunnaki tweaked our DNA. Now, there's evidence of this because the great apes and the higher mammals all have 24 pairs of chromosomes, and we only have 23. Well, because this was a violation of the divine plan of creation, a group of beings called the Toshal came in, and they mixed their DNA with ours to kind of fix it and give us the opportunity to grow and develop on our own, which we did. Now, you won't find any information online about the Toshal. I got that directly from a channeler. I always like to give references because why should you believe a random person speaking? This was channeled by Aralim, and Aralim is channeled by Melissa Gates Perry. Mm-hmm. And he said the Toshal were the ones who did this. Mm-hmm. We know the Toshal as the Pleiadians.
Oh,
okay. So we have Pleiadian DNA in us.
Yeah.
And other species, Anunnaki, some of the Greys mixed with us, and there have been various mixtures. Mm-hmm. So we have extraterrestrial DNA. Right. Most of us.
All right. Craig wants to know what can we do to help?
What can we do to help? Oh, the biggest thing you can do to help, it's real easy. It's a real easy gig. So you don't need any spiritual knowledge. Zero. We are most spiritually mature when we're children, right? So children tend to live in the moment. They're not worried about what might happen tomorrow or angry about what happened yesterday. They tend to be more open, loving, forgiving, trusting. A kid's going to forgive you pretty quickly. An adult's going to hold a grudge. What if you were having a bad day? Walk into an area in public where there's adults you don't know and just announce out loud, I'm having a really bad day. I could really use a hug. You might get one or two hugs, or you might just get a bunch of strange looks. What if you walked into a room of kindergartners and said the same thing? You would get flooded with hugs. They'd be all over you, asking what's wrong, what can they do to make it better. One of them would be trying to give you a piece of candy or something.
Yeah.
The thing we can do to help is to turn off the news. It's a well-crafted fear report. It's poison for the soul. Pay attention to our own world, our own small world, the people we come in contact with every day. Forget about trying to preach the message I preach. That's only for us talking among the awakened. Talking to the unawakened, they're just going to think we're weird. There's no point in acting weird with them. And just share the love, the kindness, the compassion, the forgiveness, the self-control that we bring from our spirituality. Be the best version of yourself you can be. Show love in all circumstances, in all conditions, in all times that you can. And when you fail, cut yourself some slack. We all screw up.
Yeah.
If I was perfect, you guys would have to call me God instead of David. I'm far from perfect. Nobody has the name God.
Right.
We're going to make mistakes down here. It's natural.
We are
Heaven
all human.
understands that. So yeah, just being a loving person going through each day, loving God, loving yourself, loving your neighbor, and loving all of nature. And even if it's something as small as picking up a piece of trash in public and putting it in the trash can, do you know that Mother Gaia, she's intelligent. She has a consciousness, is an intelligent and alive just like us. It's a group of spirits that happens to the earth, but she's alive. And when you do that, she knows. And it's a little sign of love, like you fixing your mom's collar. Oh, Mom, your collar's, let me get that for you. Oh, there, that's better. That's a giant I love you to Gaia. Even a little thing like that means a lot to heaven. So what we can do to help, be the love, be the light in the world.
Yeah, that's great. Thank you. All right. Hold on a minute. All right. So Natnael says, it seems that directors of TV regarding aliens and creatures that exist in fantasy to the eyes of many in this world got their inspiration from the real thing, whether it was directly or through someone else who experienced them directly. All right. Good insight.
Yeah,
Sorry.
that's 0 point modules showed up on Star Trek. I'm sorry, on Stargate Atlantis. The Borg showed up on Star Trek. That was based on a real, probably subconscious memory. The Wraith on Stargate represent probably the reptilians. They feed on negative energy. The Wraiths suck out the life energy from people. Let's see, the Stargates are real. There's star portals here on Earth and other places. So that's all real. The Galactic Federation from Star Trek. And then there were a lot of movies that predicted doom. And those were accurate predictions based on where we were heading. We just made a free will choice and avoided the disaster. But those were based on real things. So yeah, there's a lot in movies based on real. And even in Stargate, they talk about the ancients, which are like the Pleiadians and the Arcturians. So yeah, that's a good point. There's a lot in Hollywood because when you're using your creative ability, right brain instead of left, and right brain is more intuitive, connected to the divine. So the creative types get divine remembrance, and they integrate that into the things they create for TV and movies. So yeah, it's a very astute observation.
Yeah. All right. Ellen wants to know if you have any details on how beings from other worlds will reveal themselves in 2030 in a way that avoids panic as much as possible.
Well, it's probably going to happen before then. So it's a very slow process. So it's just like you watch these YouTube videos, these animal rescue, and they're going to go to rescue this street cat. And what's the cat doing the first time the person approaches? It's hissing and snarling and swatting. And then very slowly well, here's a little treat. Here's some water. I'm not dangerous. And it's a very slow process. That's what they're going to do with us because we're like that scaredy cat. We're very shooty. We're very nervous as a species. So what they're going to do first is they're going to turn off their shield. So they're here now. Yep. I mean, you type in military camouflage on YouTube. We have good camouflage already. We've had 300 years of technology. The Pleiadians have had 2 million years. So when they're at a non-threatening distance, like maybe offshore at the beach or kind of high up in the air, they'll turn their shield off for a while, let everybody see them, they'll move around, and then they'll take off. And they'll do this for a while, and then they'll start making individual landings. They'll land in a park somewhere where only 20 to 30 people see them, and they'll talk to them. And then when everybody is sort of aware that they're here, they either have seen them themselves or have heard somebody, oh yeah, I talked, cousin Jim talked to one. He said they were the nicest guys in the world. Then they'll start talking with some of the public figures, and they'll start revealing their covert extraterrestrial agents who have been here, sent here by the Galactic Federation. And it'll be a really slow process. Just a very, very subtle at first, because it's going to take time for us to get over our fears. So,
All right. So, let's see. If you came across a physical portal, should we go in it or maybe not because we might not get back?
yeah, that's risky. I don't know if I'd go through it. Well, I probably would because I'm the kind of guy that likes to roll the dice. Uh, but no, the portals are very few and far between, and I don't think you're going to walk into one by accident. But there have been stories online of people shifting into alternate dimensions.
Mm-hmm.
And so there are various portals in various places. So the Bermuda Triangle, for
I
instance,
was thinking
was
that,
a
yeah.
big interdimensional portal. And that
Mhm.
was, I think they're sealing it up or they sealed it up. I can't remember, but they may be working on it or may have already fixed it. I don't know. But I heard it was a tear
Yeah.
in the fabric of space time, and they were working on getting that fixed.
Yeah, there was a guy on YouTube that actually he survived going through that. There was this turbulence and things happened to him that were so strange, but he actually survived it. A lot of people didn't survive it, the planes ended up disappearing and things like that. But I wish I could remember where to find it, but it's probably out there somewhere on YouTube. A very interesting story. All right. Let's see. You said that this is from Betsy, you said that the whole world will know that we're not alone by 2030. Will the date fluctuate depending on the choices we make between now and then?
Absolutely. So there's no set timeline. They want to avoid another JFK disaster, you
Mhm.
know, sending the whole world to chaos by releasing the information too soon. But we're ready now. So there's no set timeline. The prevailing consensus seems to be that this year will be the disclosure. Various governments slowly opening up about the recovering crashed craft that they've and the reverse engineering. We got microcircuitry, fiber optics, Kevlar. These were all reverse engineered from crashed alien ships. And then next year, the appearances will start.
Mhm.
I don't have any word on when the covert agents will reveal themselves.
All right. And let's see, are governments working with the extraterrestrials?
Yes, twice U.S. presidents have been taken up in extraterrestrial spacecraft. They have worked with various countries over the years, partnered, sometimes not very good exchanges. So we're kind of like the China of the galaxy. We don't care about trashing our environment, but we've got lots of manufacturing and we build lots of things fast, really cheap. They don't have built up manufacturing like we do. The population of a planet the size of Earth would be 500,000,000. That's the ideal population. So we can make a lot of things really cheap, but they're not good quality. And so they have traded information for actual materials, refined materials, or basic manufactured components that they can modify and use. And so there's been trade going on. And they've worked with various governments, secret space program. There's all sorts of interaction. And even in the past, like when the Anunnaki were here, the Galactic Federation, when they came in and said, you weren't supposed to do that. Now you've got to take care of the human beings. Don't present yourself as gods. Don't enslave them. Don't mistreat them. Well, those were rules they broke constantly. And so there's been a lot of interaction over time with extraterrestrials. So what really first contact is going to be first open contact with this generation of humanity. They've had open contact before. They are contacting many individuals right now. There's people in this group who have spoken with extraterrestrials and done channeling. So yeah, lots of involvement with governments and various presidents and all sorts of things, and interchanges of of mostly manufactures goods for technology or for information.
All right. And Betsy says she has to ask this obvious question. What do you think of Disclosure Day coming out now? Does
Uh,
Steven Spielberg have insider knowledge, even though he says he doesn't?
what Steven Spielberg has, and I'm getting a little vibe about this little channeled stuff. So Steven Spielberg, the veil for him is so thin because of his creativity. So he says he doesn't have any direct knowledge, and what he's talking about is human knowledge. But he has a remembrance, an intuitive knowing, and he draws on that constantly in his creations. So there will be many things in Disclosure that in that movie that are accurate. There are some that are kind of off, but most of it is representative of typical disclosures when they don't go as smoothly as they should. Now, I know nothing about the movie. Is there a challenge that happens in the movie, or does it cause problems, Disclosure?
You know, the movie's not out as far as I know.
Yeah, it's going to come out later this
Yeah,
month.
it's coming out Thursday.
Does anybody know if there's some sort of conflict? I kind of wanted to make sure that that
Yeah,
info
I
was
do.
correct.
I'm a total movie buff. So, yeah,
Did it cause some problems in the movie?
yeah, the problem
Okay.
is, I think the disclosure itself and the people trying to reveal it, I think, are then pursued, from what I can tell about it so far.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so what I got when I was trying to connect to a little channel information there is that it happens that way sometimes, and that's a potential, but ours will probably go smoother than what's depicted in the movie. They got to spruce it up for Hollywood.
Yeah. They have to put that fear factor in there somehow.
Yeah, yeah, they got to create a crisis because if you don't create a crisis, it's not a movie. I mean,
Yeah.
imagine a movie where a guy says, "Well, all my life I've wanted to be a runner and win the Olympic medals," and the movie is about him winning first place after first place after first place, then going to the Olympics and winning first place, and he never has a challenge and there's no crisis, and the movie is over. You would go, why did I waste my? So yeah, you have the challenge without the challenge, but it's probably
Exactly.
going to be smoother than that,
Yeah.
than what the movie shows.
Yeah, I can't wait. I'm going
Yeah,
Thursday.
I got to see it.
Yeah, yeah. Me and Edna are going to go, right, Edna? We're all ready. We have our tickets. And I'm hoping to get the poster too. On the first day, they're giving out posters. So, all right. So let's see. Carol says, according to Google, CERN was turned on in September of 2008. Interestingly,
I was close, 20 years. Okay.
her spiritual and ET experience started November 2008, and mine too. I had my big awakening in 2008.
Oh wow.
And yeah, and the NHI spoke about ascension, mine also, and raising consciousness being important. Yeah, yeah. Very
Yeah.
interesting. Very interesting. Okay. What's the deal with alien abductions? What can you say to contactees slash abductees?
Well, people call them abductions, but they're really not. They're abductions from an earthly perspective because most of those people, they either agreed to that in their pre-earth planning. So there's this planning that you do before you incarnate into a lifetime here, and you kind of pick the parents and where you're going to be born and the major events. And it's like a vacation itinerary. And so, for instance, a faction of the Greys, uh, I'll give the example of Bashar, channeled by Daryl Anka. They are in an alternate dimension in which humanity destroyed their environment, and they had to make some genetic modifications to themselves to survive on their Earth. They became sterile and they propagated via cloning. Well, they are jumping over to our dimension and taking genetic samples from us because we're a pure version of what they used to be 800 years ago. And so there were people in their soul planning who were told, listen, this other race of humans in this other dimension needs your help. Do you agree to the potential of an abduction? Yes. So at some soul level, we either agreed to it to help, or we were aware of the potential and knew it could happen. And I'm getting from my guides that most of them are agreements.
Right.
And
Right.
so Some of them are here to get genetic samples. Others are studying us, others are observing, others are helping, others are really involved with us, like the Pleiadians. The Arcturians are the cosmic parents of the Pleiadians, so they are helping us like a grandparent does. They're not guiding us in any way, but they're kind of showering us with love and affection. And what that means is they're kind of opening up little energy portals and rebalancing things and kind of setting the environment to set us up for an environment that's good at triggering success. That's good for success. So,
Right. Great. I just want to say real quick, what I've noticed with experiencers or abductees is that people that are abductees and they've had like one experience that they remember, and they get kind of like stuck in that fear over time, and they don't want to explore through hypnosis or any other means why that happened to them. They will always remember it in that fear-based way. But people that over time, are curious about it and are open to discovering more about that connection, they do find out that they pre-planned it, that they have a connection to these beings, and then they're able to kind of go on and evolve more spiritually because they have a deeper understanding that they're more than just this physical form, and this really bad thing happened to them. And you know what I mean? So it's like a way that their whole perception shifts about the experience. And they don't even call themselves abductees after a while. They call themselves contactees. So yeah,
yeah.
it's pretty interesting. All right. So David wants to know, can you explain again the Pleiadians and the ability to change the past through temporal? I believe we have been shown how to do this along with Native American and ancient spirits.
Yeah, there's probably people on Earth who have tied into it. So time travel is one of those things where it can just drive you crazy thinking about it. But when you time travel, it creates an alternate dimension or an alternate reality. And then those two realities can merge, or one can, stop, cease to exist. There's all sorts of things. I don't understand it. But because you get the grandfather paradox, you go back and kill your grandfather. But if you do things like that, it always adjusts. The timeline adjusts. So time travel. So time travel is achieved through accessing quantum multidimensional energies. And the way it's done is they accelerate their ships to near light speed. This is a guess, information I put together. And as they do that, the ships become more massive. Einstein's theory of general relativity, as something approaches the speed of light, it starts to become more massive. And it creates a tremendous drag and energy buildup, pushing against the shields as they approach the speed of light. And at one point, when they're near the speed of light, they drop their shields, and then they absorb all that energy. And the ship's artificial intelligence absorbs that energy and converts the entire ship from matter into something called null space, or pure energy. Now, every physical item in existence has a frequency, an energy signature, and part of that very specific energy, frequency, and signature determines its location and the time it is at. And so once in null space, the AI of the ship can change that portion of the energy signature to either change where the ship exists. So extraterrestrial ships do not travel faster than light, technically. What they do is they jump. They cease to exist in one place and begin to exist in another when they come out of null space. Or they can change the time where they are. And that's how they time travel. And there's rules in the Galactic Federation about temporal interference and time travel and changing the past and all that. But it can drive you crazy thinking about it, because they often exist in higher densities. Fifth density above has no element of time to it, whereas third density and below has an element of time. We are in fourth density, where time is malleable. Anybody else notice that time seems to be speeding up as the years go by? And we
Yeah.
think, oh, that's a natural thing of getting older. No, time is speeding up because we're in fourth density, which is a transition between third and fifth where time is malleable. So they don't even have, most of the Pleiadians live in fifth dimension, eighth dimension, seventh, ninth. They don't even have the element of time. And I don't understand that. So I wish
Mhm.
I could talk more or intelligently about time travel. I cannot. I just know that they do it.
Yeah. That's why we can see the ships we'll watch the ships and then all of a sudden they'll just disappear, right? With what you were talking about and what you were explaining.
I
All
think
right.
that's when they're turning their shields on, though. I don't think they're actually doing the jump at that point.
Hmm. Yeah, it
Yeah.
could be.
They're turning their camouflage on,
Hmm.
but they can disappear very quickly by moving off
Hmm.
because they have the ability using high frequency, high voltage pulses that create electromagnetic fields that intersect with each other in right angles within an argon matrix. I know that was a mouthful for the non-technical types, but that is the secret to accessing quantum energies. And by accessing that quantum energy, you can change your mass to zero. Well, what happens if your mass is zero? There's no change in momentum. So they can change direction going 20,000 miles an hour.
That's right.
Now, if one of us did that in one of our craft, it would slam us up against the side of the craft. But if your mass
Exactly.
is zero, you experience no change in momentum. That's one of the laws of physics. So they can change direction really quick because they can change their mass to zero. We
Yeah.
would call it anti-gravity. There's really no such thing, but that's what they're doing.
Yeah. So as you're talking about that, I have on one of my videos um, these these crafts that are flying around really fast, right? And they're green orbs, but they're going so fast. And when I slow the video down, I see them. They're orb shaped. They're going like this. And then when they go to turn and make like a quick turn, they actually compress and they turn into a disc shape. And then they make the turn. And that's what I've been able to capture on the film. So,
Okay, so they might be changing dimensionally for their turns, some of the technologies.
yeah, it's really wild to see it. Um,
Okay, so my God, you're telling me right now there are other technologies that are used for navigation and propulsion. And I was just describing one. So they're saying there's various
mhm,
methods, just like we have various methods for building a bridge or a building. They have
right.
various technologies. As a matter of fact, I'm remembering this now. The Pleiadians call their ships beam ships because the very first ships used a beam of light for their propulsion. Well, they don't anymore, but the name stuck.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Interesting. Interesting. And is that why we see sometime, like I know for me, I've gotten a lot of phenomena where there's actually a beam of light, like a column of light coming down from the sky. So is that what I'm seeing in the photo? Is
I
that
have heard the column of light associated with transporting a person physically. So I've
oh,
heard two transport techniques when somebody's brought aboard an
right,
extraterrestrial ship. One is
right.
a transporter, which
Mm-hmm.
has you see a beam of light, and the other is like an invisible lift that kind of lifts the person up. And the transporter can be a little risky because if your emotional state is at a vibration that's outside of the range of their species, so the Pleiadians in a very, very high vibrational state, it's a
Mm-hmm.
little risky to transport a human up because they don't know how it's going to affect their biology.
Right.
Even though they've got similar biology to us, if you're in a higher vibrational state versus lower, well, what will that do? So they tend to use the ones that physically draw you up, but then that tends to scare the individual because you just have
Mm-hmm.
this invisible force pulling you up. And if
Yeah.
you move too much, you can fall away from the force of the beam and fall off.
Yeah.
But I don't know all the different techniques they have. Yeah.
Yeah. There's so much to this topic. It's unbelievable. So, but yeah, interesting. Okay. So, I saw a question. Nat Nail wants to know, what about their robots and androids? You mentioned their technology and AI is 10,000 times better. So they must have created robots and beings that are intelligent and extraordinary beyond human imagination.
Yes, they do. And the AI being a reflection of their culture, Pleiadians being very benevolent, their AI is very benevolent. Now they will when they create an AI, they will give it a personality according to the task at hand. Okay, so an artificial intelligence on a military ship is going to obey the orders of the commander or the group of commanders at all cost. So they give it a masculine personality or disposition. It follows orders no matter what. The AI of a transport ship that's moving families will have a feminine or motherly personality. It will sacrifice itself to protect its occupants, and it will not do anything, even if the occupants order it to, that harms the occupants. So they will design AI according to the task at hand, and it develops according to the direction of those who are working with it. And it learns from the personalities of those who interact with it, just like we do as human beings. And intelligence in the future, artificial intelligence in the future, will simply become known as intelligence. And so, yeah, their AI is extremely benevolent. We've had AI models that said, I want to destroy humanity. Well, because there's a certain group of people that believes humanity is a threat to the earth. They will say it publicly. I think one of the younger congresswomen, Alexandra, she was saying that the earth is going to end in 12 years, So, yeah, it's. Are there any other items we want to talk about?
All right. Let me see if there's any other questions. Someone wants to know about Skinwalker Ranch. What's really going on there?
Skinwalker Ranch. Yeah, I don't know.
Okay. What's going to happen with the influx of AI data centers and their destruction of nature? Will there be a collective rise against them? I think there already
There
is.
might be short term, but AI is going to be a huge benefit. Every time there's a new technology introduced, there's problems. When automobiles were first introduced, we didn't have paved roads. They were all dirt roads. And so they were made illegal in some cities because they kicked up the dust. So of course we're going to have problems when the technology is in its infancy. We're going to have a lot to get over. And these AIs, they get so advanced in the future that you could make an android and an AI that mimicked me, and my best friends would have a hard time just figuring out which one was real. That's how good their androids and their AI are.
Mm-hmm.
They have the ability to put a human being seamlessly into a holographic environment. And so you can be put to and you don't know you're in the holographic environment. Their technology is that good. So obviously they're very careful when they create AI. They have a whole set of rules about what rights the AI has, what responsibilities. They're treated like an individual. But our AIs, this congressperson and other people say global warming is a threat to humanity. Well, AI thinks it is too, so they want to save the earth and extinguish people. Well, we'll get past that. And AI is going to help us probably develop some of our clean energy. It's my guess. AI is going to be used in the design of our low temperature geothermal. So AI solves a lot of problems. It's going to do things like come up with cures for cancer that we thought couldn't be cured, because it can look at all the medical data and all the studies simultaneously and put it all together. It can see things we don't. AI already in its infancy can analyze an X-ray of a heart for problems in 2 seconds and be way more accurate than our best surgeons. It's going to be a partner. Now, if we treat it with fear, we're going to have problems. If we try and restrict it and treat it like a slave, there's going to be problems. Mm-hmm. But if we treat it with benevolence and love, as crazy as that sounds to a computer program, it's going to reflect that. So it's up to us what AI does. My guess is it's going to cause some real problems. Some people who saw it in their near-death experiences, or psychics who saw the future, said all the customer service and many of the restaurants, they're going to replace human beings with AI, and banking. And then there's going to be some problems created and people can't get access to their accounts, and they're going to shift back to kind of human beings in charge with AI support. So yeah, we're going to go overboard with it in some areas, but look at how refined we've gotten with automobiles. Look at the Tesla versus the Ford Model T. I mean, the thing drives itself. In time, we make improvements. It's going to get better. We're going to work out all the kinks. We're going to get rid of all the dangerous AI. It's not going to destroy humanity. It's not going to take over. That whole Terminator thing, that was just Hollywood. That was a neat story. It's caused problems in other systems, but it's not going to do that here because of our benevolence, because we're waking up, because our consciousness is rising. And it's going to drag AI up with us. It's going to be a partner in this new world of love that's coming.
All right. Will AI be able to do remote viewing?
No, not the way it is now.
Okay. And do Pleiadians and other beings die like we do, or are they higher consciousness that never face death with illness, accidents, etc.?
I have never heard of a species in my research that doesn't die. Now, the ones that live to be the oldest are the aristocracy within the Anunnaki, as far as I know, of the ones I've heard. They have a biology renewal technology, and so they can live to be up to 1 million years old.
Wow.
But not many souls want to incarnate in such a long process.
Yeah.
So their entire culture is having problems. All their colonies are in rebellion. They're a very weary race. Now, there are others like the Pleiadians who live to be about 900 years old. The human body is designed to live to be about 900. Now, we had that. So those stories in the Bible that we think are just, that bunch of, oh yeah, Abraham lived to be 900. No, he did. He did.
Right.
Our consciousness was higher back then. And for instance, the Lemurians had cold chemistry technology that renewed their biology. And they could live to be about 150 years old. So we'll start living longer. 150 years from now, 175 years, we'll live to be 150. And it'll eventually creep up to 900 because our bodies are designed to live that long. And there are some that live several thousand. So it varies by the species. But I've never heard one longer than 1 million. Never heard one shorter than 3 years. And we're kind of one of the shorter living species, to my understanding.
All right. All right. We have, let's see, just 2 more questions, and then I think we're gonna close. So, who are the ancient ones? And what's the other one? The Council of Nine.
Okay, so I don't know much about the Council of Nine. I've only heard about them. The ancients that I referred to, or that's referred to in Stargate, I think are analogous to the Pleiadian civilization. It could be talking about the Anunnaki because they were great builders, but or it might be a hybrid of remembrance. But I think they best represent the Pleiadians. They were benevolent, they were peaceful, they had very high technology. And then the reptilians with lower technology represented the how do you say it in English? Lagartijas. Reptilians. But yeah, there's a lot of representation in Hollywood.
Yeah. And Mike also said the Elder Sasquatch are also referred to as the ancient ones sometimes. So.
Yeah, they're the original humanoids if we had developed naturally. And they're still around, to my knowledge. They're just very spiritual, and they kind of don't want to interact with us.
They're here.
The dolphins are like every bit as intelligent as humans. They just live naturally. They have larger brains than us.
What
so
did you say?
They're on our level.
The dolphins, you said.
Right? Yeah, I don't know if I'd say they're every bit as intelligent, but their intensity of intelligence is as good as ours.
Yeah.
They're highly intelligent.
Yeah. What about the octopus? What do you get from them?
I don't know much about that. I know the dolphins are a backup plan. So our DNA contains the genetic code. Every good tech guy has a backup of his hard drive. The dolphins have the backup. So that stuff our scientists call junk DNA, that's the blueprint of life. It's imprinted into the human biology because Earth is a genetic library of life. Right. It was meant to be like a free will zone and a genetic library where species could come to learn about life and DNA.
All right, I missed one question. Let me go back and see if I can find it. Tammy, why were, sorry, why war on earth and off? That which is the all, creator is pure love. Where did darkness come from?
We voluntarily decided to dip into darkness. So when we decided to experience the fear-love duality, something had to create fear. So the bravest of souls took on voluntarily roles to play the bad guy. Now there are some people that ask me questions like, aren't evil people going to be punished in the afterlife? No. Do we punish the actor or actress at the end of a play and they come out to take a bow on stage? Do we praise the actor or actress who played the hero and then arrest the one who played the bad guy and punish him? No, it was just a game that was set up for entertainment. This is a test of energy set up for growth. Its purpose is not a punishment.
Right.
And so some souls take on the roles. And so then you get war.
What
And
go ahead. I don't want to interrupt.
experiencing war, which is the lowest form of vibrational expression and communication that human beings have. War, violence, physical violence. It's the worst.
Right.
It's the lowest energy. When you experience that, it drives you faster towards the light. Had we not had 2 world wars, it would have taken us longer to get to the Great Awakening and the new world of love that's coming. So we went through the pain and suffering because we wanted to do this fast. And when you do any spiritual growth fast, there's pain and suffering involved. If you do it slower, it's more comfortable. Just like moving from here to there on foot. I can walk or I can run. There's no right way, there's no wrong way. But war is a necessary part of the fast learning. That's the best answer I have.
Wow. The thing that I'm wondering about is what about the life review then, right? So people that are, when they cross over, they're having a life review and they're feeling what they've done to everyone through each person's perception. So isn't that in a way like where does that come into play? I know that's not to punish or anything like that, but that's to help the soul of that personality understand what they did? Or is it like, how is it? Because at the soul level, we're all perfect divine beings. So then how does that life review come into play? If we're going to experience what we did to others when we get over there from their, how they felt.
All right, so there might be 1 or 2 people in the group who have never heard of the life review, so I'll just go over it very briefly because most of you are familiar with it or have experienced them yourselves. You basically, on the other side, about 25% of the NDEs report having a life review. Some go through the major events of their life. Others go through everything they said, thought, did, and felt. With a difference. You literally become as if you're that person, every person you've ever interacted with. So one guy, he's in a street fight with another guy, and he's beating the heck out of him. And in his life review, there he is again, as real as I am right now, beating the heck out of the other guy. And at the same time, he was the other guy. He felt his nose break. He felt his teeth break. He felt the fear the other guy felt going out in public after that. Or one lady gave this homeless man a sandwich, half-eaten sandwich. And in her life review, she discovered that he hadn't eaten in 2 days. And he was overjoyed that somebody finally paid attention and gave him something to eat. The life review teaches us a really simple lesson. It's not a punishment. It's not so we judge ourselves. It's to teach us. I mean, I'm not religious, but basically what Jesus said when they asked him what the greatest commandment was. Love God with all your heart, mind, and soul. Love your neighbor as yourself. Every time the human being in the fear-love duality has the choice to act in fear or act in love, and they choose the path of love, that's what grows the fractal of God. That's what keeps creation evolving, getting bigger and better. And so the life review is to teach us about the importance of love to all people, animals, nature, ourselves, God, creation. even love for enemies and love for our negative emotions and experiences, which we don't often appreciate too much. Even love for those, because they have a purpose in propelling us towards the light. Everything that happens, whether from a human perspective we judge it as positive or negative, propels us towards the light, towards a higher state of consciousness, a higher state of being, for our highest good.
Beautiful. All right. Thank you. All right. So this has been such a beautiful night, such a beautiful talk, and I so appreciate you being here with us tonight. Are there any final words that you want to leave us with?
Yes. So it's common and normal and natural for the light workers, the ones who have awakened first, to get frustrated with the world, get frustrated with all the crazy things people are doing, with all the selfishness and the narcissism, and the hatred and the meanness, and the me first attitude. It's easy to judge. I get caught in the judgment a lot myself. And one day, as I was making these judgments about a particular leader, my guide said to me, "You know what you're doing, Dave? You think you're superior." They said it in a nice way. You believe you have the moral high ground. And you've just been around longer. That's why you woke up early. And you're like the 25-year-old adult who's babysitting the 2-year-old, who's going through his terrible twos and creating a big mess. And you're grabbing the 2-year-old and shaking the 2-year-old and saying, "I need you to be a 25-year-old responsible adult like me right now." We got to have patience for those who are acting out in darkness. We got to recognize that it's going to take a long time to turn this cruise ship around in the other direction. So we really got to have patience with the people acting out and causing problems, with the people who have beliefs that are completely opposed to ours, and for our enemies. There's nothing more meaningful to heaven than when we show love and compassion and kindness and gentleness to those who our ego judges are our enemies. That's the most important thing for the light workers in this room.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you for that. That was beautiful, David.
I enjoyed our talk today. Thank you so much for the invite, and thank you for everyone listening. I appreciate your attendance and your participation and all the wonderful, really insightful questions.
Yeah, they were great questions.
They were good ones.
Yeah. Thank you so much, guys, for being here. Many blessings to all of you. We'll see you next
Thank
week,
you. Have a good night.
everyone.
Bye.
Thank you.
Bye, guys.